In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises, Inc. and IT&E.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to another edition of In Full Zoom. I'm Nestor Licanto, and our guest this week is our good friend Siska Hutapea, who is the president of Cornerstone Valuation, and she's going to talk to us about her latest quarterly report on the real estate industry in Guam. Happy day, Siska.
Happy day, Nestor. Thank you for having me. Happy day, everyone.
So I like your headline, Rising, Rising, Rising. And one of the points in your quarterly report was the fact that the median price of homes on Guam, no surprise, is rising. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, the inspiration is from Vanilla Ice because I'm like 1980s kids, rice, baby. But yeah, you're absolutely right. What I've seen in the first 3 quarters of 2021 is that majority of the investors are local investor, and that's because obviously it's really hard to travel to come to Guam for the off-island investor. So the local investor are taking the reign of like the activity during the first 3 quarters. There's a couple of big land sale that are acquired for development with housing, a couple of apartments, several commercial buildings. And what is very interesting too is that, there's a new, there used to be like a threshold at what price a local buyer would pay, but it seems like in the first 3 quarters of 2021, they kind of let loose and they are willing to pay to win. And when I interviewed, because in my course, in my line of work, when we do valuation, especially for commercial properties, we have to verify the transaction with the buyer and seller. If at all possible. And when I talked to the buyer, they were, the buyer of a couple of apartment building, and I asked them, this is like new high for like apartment units. And what they say is, they're expecting a higher rent. And then they are also saying that, hey, Siska, if I build this from scratch, it's going to cost me this much, and I'm paying just below the construction costs. So it's very interesting that we all know right now, the market participants all know right now that in the short term we're going to have a difficult time because the federal stimulus money is drying up, and then the tourism industry is not going to be back for a while. But the optimism for the long-term outlook is really strong, especially from the local buyers.
In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises, Inc. and IT&E. GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information. In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises, Inc. and IT&E.
Yeah, and you just alluded to what I was going to ask you next. And I think also in your report was contained, you said that there's been a substantial increase in sales activity recently, which is, to me, at least, counterintuitive, because as you mentioned, the federal funds are drying up, and we're facing a very uncertain economic future on the island, and yet, it's rising. So can you elaborate a little bit more on why you think that?
Yes, so several things. Of course, the interest rate is very low right now. It's started to creep up a little bit, but it's still very, very low, 3%. In 2014, when interest rate was about 6% for a 30-year mortgage, the median price was only around $215,000, and now with the interest rate at 2.9%, the median price of a single-family dwelling is at $375,000. So that, of course, contribute to the affordability of the low interest rate contribute to the affordability of the market participant. So low interest rate is one. Secondly, we are in the time of inflation, and real estate is a hedge against inflation. and people want to put their money where it's gonna, retain its value. So real estate is definitely it. And then with the high construction costs, people wants to like buy existing property and try to get into the market ahead. So those factor, and of course, we are in the brink of population growth with the completion of the marine base. We are in the brink of population growth, and when there is population growth, there's growth too in real estate. So yeah.
Yeah, you're helping me with this interview very well, because you're just segueing into the stuff that I want to ask you about. One of the other things in your report, you talked about, despite the fact that there's been, according to the census, a 3.5% reduction in population over the last 10 years. You believe that in the next 5 to 10 years that we're going to have, pretty spike in population growth. Tell us why you think that.
Well, yeah. So with the opening of the marine base, it's not only that the marine is going to come. There's going to be civilian that works to do that, and I do hope that I'm also on the governor's economic diversification working group, and we do hope that some of this initiative, we have 12 initiatives there, some of this initiative will pan out and will be able to provide, new industry, not just tourism, new industry that will attract more and more, either, the young people of Guam that went off island and work, like my 2 kids are, in college right now in California. Hopefully they will come back and develop industries that are more high paying and more sustainable, and we could have a Guam that is more prosperous and have more jobs for its local population.
Yeah, you mentioned the military buildup. Gave me a chance to ask you, what do you think will be the impact of the military on the rental market? Because that's been an issue in the past. The military who live off get a certain. Go ahead and elaborate on.
Great question, Nestor. Before there's always the military rental overseas housing allowance is driving all of the price up. But in reality, like I've always described, there's 3 target market for residential rental in Guam: the subsidized military with their overseas housing allowance, which really hasn't moved for the past 10 years. It's been at the same rate, except for the lower ranking. They changed from like 2,300 to 2,325, increased slightly. But really, in general, it hasn't moved for the past 10 years, this overseas housing allowance. What did move is the second sector, which is the subsidized Section 8. Last year, they increased twice. And the 3-bedroom, so the Section 8, they base it on the number of bedroom on the rental rate. So for the 3-bedroom one, it's now at $1,825 per month, and it moved up substantially compared to the old rate. And now a 4-bedroom is at like $2,236, if I don't remember wrong. But the point is, now the Section 8 is creeping up, and that leaves the local, local renter, which is the 3rd segment of the market, who usually just only wanting to pay up to $1,200, because if they can't afford to pay more, they would just buy a housing unit. And so that like I wrote in my newsletter, that send this local market to local renter to oblivion.
In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises Inc. and IT&E. GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information. In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises Inc. and IT&E.
Yeah. Do we need more inventory? I guess we always need more inventory, but particularly in low to medium income rentals.
We do need more inventory, definitely, because that's what happened now. The limited supply drive up the prices. I'm amazed every single day, the new transaction, the new pending price. If you want to get the property, you have to be aggressive. We're not in the mainland level yet, where there's a property in the market, and then the 14th people on the list, 14th ranking people already offered 20,000 above the asking price, and they still didn't get it. We're not there. But we have very, very limited supply. And I do know, like the local buyer that I was just telling you, acquiring the large land transaction, they are going to add to the supply, but it takes a while. We're not like in the mainland, where we could just do like wood framing, boom, 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 staple, and then in 3 months we get new supply. In Guam, it takes, just the permitting alone and the design phase, it could take a year and then another year to build, if not more. There's a development in Jigo that is currently pending, because they were proposing to finish 6 months ago, but the contractor that is going to do the interior finishing was not able to have enough worker to finish it up, and so it's delayed. So it takes time to add new supply in Guam.
Yeah, I missed this earlier, but you did mention the fact that there have been some new commercial building sales, but you also send the report that these are record commercial building sales. Why is that?
Well, again, what we said about the limited supply and the high construction costs that drove it up, but also we have local players that are looking to have their own, commercial building. Of course, if you're a businessman or business women, if you have, a business that is needing space, and if you can have owner-occupant building, it makes sense for you, because it helps with the having depreciation. It helps to pay mortgage instead of rent and build equity, and so it makes sense, especially for smaller commercial building. There's always more than one prospective buyer. There's a bigger pool of potential buyers for smaller commercial building, because they want to have owner-occupant building.
Yeah, but there are some pretty substantial buildings going up. If you just drive down Marine Drive, look to your right, there's the Coast 360. You've got the fast food, and
then Jack in the Box. Yeah. So all of them are owner-occupant. Because really it's really hard. I'm working with a client right now. They own like a really prime piece of property, and they are hiring me to do a highest and best use analysis on what to build on it. But the construction cost is just so high that typically the one who's building right now are the owner-occupant, because they don't just get the return on investment, but other benefits of owning property, including depreciation, things like that. Yeah.
All right. And so the report also mentioned the impact of the end of the foreclosure moratorium. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. So I spoke to my clients, various lenders on Guam, and most of them noted that they aren't expecting a wave of foreclosure like we did have in 2001, 2003. And that is kind of expected, because equity is abound. And, if, my advice is, to cut your loss if you cannot refinance earlier. There's equity in your property. Almost certainly you will have equity in your property, because the median prices have increased significantly. It's different for each property depending on the maintenance, the condition, and whatnot. But almost certain that I am almost certain that you will have equity in your property. So, instead of like waiting for the foreclosure to happen, I would say, maybe you can list the property and salvage the deal, is what I'm suggesting.
In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises Inc. and IT&E. GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information. In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises Inc. and IT&E.
Looking back, is there anything that surprised you over the past couple of quarters?
Yes, like I said, first of all, the quarterly sales, just like I noted in my report, the quarterly sales increased by 81 and 71% for the second and third quarter of 2021 compared to 2020. And yes, you could say, yeah, 2020 nothing happened, but the second and third quarter of 2021 is still higher than the second and third quarter of 2019, where we had 1.65 million tourists. And so I'm not surprised, but I'm glad that the local investor put their faith on Guam real estate market. So I'm glad about that.
Okay, and finally, let me ask you to take out your crystal ball, Siska, and tell us what you're looking forward to in the next couple of quarters.
Yes, I think the sales is still going to be strong. And like I said, equity is abound in your property. It's a great time to sell if you do have a good use for the money. If you don't, just don't sell. I think there's going to be more and more inventory because the price level now allows it to make sense to build for the developer. And so I hope to see more inventory coming in the market. But like I said, it's not like in the mainland where we could create inventory in no time. It takes time, unfortunately. But I'm excited about Guam real estate, as I always am. But yeah.
Have you heard though of any new projects that might be on the horizon that maybe?
Oh, yes, there are several on the planning stage. The problem is, we all know it, where to find a contractor.
Yeah.
Maybe you and I should open a construction company.
You know much more about construction than I ever would. but thanks for the offer. All right, thanks, Siska. That's
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
You're always welcome on KOAM. Siska Hutapea is the president of Cornerstone Valuation, and she checks in with us regularly about her latest quarterly real estate industry reports. Thanks again, Siska.
Bye, thank you.
And I'm Nestor Licanto. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you again next week on In Full Zoom.
In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises Inc. and IT&E.